how to run a Java program from the command prompt or the command line interface from the terminal on Pop! OS Linux 22.04. Okay, let's get started. Yeah, you can do all kinds of things from the command prompt, and one of the things you can do is run a Java program. Okay? Little background on Java, real quick. Java is one of the most commonly used programming languages, a high-level programming language. It is also an IDE-intensive programming language with tight integration with Eclipse. I'm going to be using VS Code right here. I'll be using VS Code, but there's other IDEs to use as well, Eclipse being one of them. And you can run Java programs from the command prompt for quick compiling and execution. If you're just starting to learn Java, this basic tutorial will help you start running Java programs from the command line interface on Pop! OS Linux. Okay, so the first step we're going to have to do is install a Java JDK and JRE. One is the runtime and one is the development kit. Now, since I'm on Linux, I'm not going to use Oracle because it seems like it's really pretty complicated and a lot of hacks, a lot of steps to get it working or to try it. If you're going to program in Java, I would suggest that you just stick with if you're going to use Windows or Mac, then use Oracle Java. Otherwise, for Linux, use OpenJDK. And let me show you here my Java JDK installation. The first thing, this is right here, when you just have Java by itself, that's the runtime, the JRE. You can see mine is I think it's the most current version or close to it of OpenJDK 18. And you also need a Java compiler, and we have that here. Okay, so it's the same thing. I installed OpenJDK. I get the JRE, the runtime environment, and the JDK and the Javac compiler. Okay, so we have we have the compiler and the runtime installed. Okay, we can clear on that. And I have I created a Java folder and I opened it in Visual Studio Code, and I installed a Java extension, and it's been activated, and I've created a Java file here. Hello. Usually it's hello world. I don't like hello world. I like to just use hello, the programming language. Just better that way. Hello world's a little bit too newbie for me. So it's essentially going to be a hello world. I'll call it hello Java. So hello Java, and the extension is a .java extension. Okay, so we're all set. So we'll code in here, and I'll show you how to compile the source code into the Javac compiler and get a Java virtual machine byte code object generated, and then we'll pass that into the Java runtime, and it'll execute our program. Okay, so we're all set. We have all the tooling. Installed. We have the Java runtime and the Java compiler. We have a folder open in Visual Studio Code, and we have a .java file created. Okay, so we have all the groundwork laid. So I'm going to go into my Visual Studio Code here, and I'm going to add code in here. Okay, here's the Java source code file that I created. I named it Hello Java. I did change it. I made it Hello Java .java. Few lines, basic, very simple Java source code file here. You can stop the video here, pause it, and copy it down if you want, or take a look at it. Okay, so there's our Java source code file. Now we're done with that for now. Back to the terminal. And another point I wanted to make was that just by virtue of being able to find the Javac compiler and the Javac runtime, that means that the Java binary is on the path variable. So that's I already did that, or it was done for me. I don't remember when I installed OpenJDK or not. But if it's not found, if your commands aren't found, if your Java and your Javac commands aren't found, then you're going to have to put the Java binary on the path variable. Just by virtue of me being able to get the versions verifies that my Java JDK and JRE are on the path variable. Okay, so once we verified that, can clear on that, and then I can cd into the directory where my Java source code file is has been saved. Okay, in the Java folder here. So I can clear on that. Take a look inside. Okay. Only one file, the hello-java.java source code file. Okay, good. Okay, and we'll clear on that. And now we're going to compile this Java program with the Javac compiler command. Be warned, we're not going to see anything, but it will generate. It should generate a Java virtual machine bytecode object. And then yeah, so we won't have any output, but like I said, we'll notice a new file in the directory, and that will be the Java virtual machine bytecode object. So let's go ahead and invoke the Javac compiler, and then we're just going to do a simple pass in here. We're going to pass in the Java source code file to the Javac compiler and let's see what happens. We'll enter on that. There should be no output to the prompt. Okay, good. That's what we expected. Now, let's take a look inside, and there should be another file that was added to our source code file. Okay, this .class is the Java virtual machine. Well, actually, I'm not sure if it's so much a Java virtual machine. It's going to be passed into the Java virtual machine for execution. I guess essentially you can call it a Java bytecode object. Okay, so this is what we had. This is what was created for the Javac compiler. So we had this, we passed in the Javac compiler, and they gave us this compiled executable here. Well, I'm not sure if it's executable because we can't execute it directly, but I guess you just call it a Java bytecode object, which will be executed on the Java virtual machine, which is the Java runtime, the JRE, the Java runtime. Okay, so once we've done that, then we can go ahead and do the next step and pass that bytecode object into our Java runtime our Java runtime here. Okay, this is where things get could be a little deceiving. So once we have the Java bytecode object generated, we have to pass that into the Java runtime. Now, you're probably going to think you have to, key in the whole path here, the file name and the extension. That's not true. You want to leave off the .class the extension here, and just pass in hello Java only. Okay? So we'll clear on that, and we'll use the Java runtime, which is just Java without the C. We've already done whatever compiling that we're going to have to do, and now we're just going to run that bytecode object into the Java runtime interpreter here. This is, I guess, essentially this would wind up being the Java virtual machine. Okay, so we're going to use Java, and we're going to pass in just hello Java, not the .class. And there we go. And that's the output here. Hello Java. So again, don't key in the .class file extension, which you're probably going to be tempted to do. If you do that, it won't work. You'll get an error. It'll fault on you. So just drop the .class, pass in just the name of the file here, or the name of the program actually. At this point, it's not so much a file anymore. It's more of a program. So just key in just the program name and forget the extension, and you'll get your output here. Hello Java. Now, okay, so that's that. Now, as far as the path is concerned, now we do have it on the path, and then I have it permanently. You could either do it in a session. So if you set the Java path, see if you get the Java path here, and you just do this in the terminal, and you just do and you're setting this path here to the path variable in terminal, it'll just be for the session. Mine is a permanent path because, and I'm not sure, but it's in one of my environmental files, whether it's a system-wide or a user file, or it's probably going to be in a non-login shell. And I tried to find it. I really couldn't. I looked in the home folder and in the more global folders. I really couldn't find it, but it's somewhere. But you can at least check the path variable here to make sure that the path is actually, that the Java binary is actually on, the Java binary path is actually on the path variable. You can see here user USR bin, and you can see that the root path here. And so when it looks in this path here for for executables that you're calling in the terminal, then it'll find Java here in this path here. And like I said, this is a permanent path. It's not just for the. I don't have it just set up for the session, so it's not a session path. It's a permanent path, and it's somewhere in one of my environmental files. I couldn't looked for it. I really couldn't find it, but I'm sure it's somewhere in one of my environmental files, probably in a global non-login shell environmental file somewhere in my file system. Okay, so back here, you can see there's the output there. Now a couple of 3 or 4 more points here before I end the video. You might get some permission errors saying that you don't have permissions to save the Java source code files in a certain location. Then you're just going to have to go into your file system and provide those appropriate permissions so you can save your source code files wherever you want to save them. And if you get an error that says that Java is not recognized as an internal or external command, then again you're probably or it'll probably say something along the lines of Java not found, Java command not found, Java C command not found. Again, back to the path issue, you're going to have to put the Java executable binary path on the path variable, and not just in the terminal in a terminal session, but actually into one of your environmental files. So it won't just be a session. It won't just be a session path. It'll be a permanent path. And the age-old question about what is the difference between Java and JavaScript? Don't confuse them. They are two different entities. Java came before JavaScript from Sun Microsystems, and it was founded by Sun Microsystems in 91 and 95. And JavaScript is more of a Netscape. I think it might even be I know the guy's name was Brendan Ike or something like that. And I think he worked for Netscape or Mozilla. And so there is a difference between those two. And Java is compiled, although it's not, I don't think it's considered a true compiled, a pure compiled language. Just like there's some programs, some languages that are interpreted, but they're not purely interpreted because there's like 2 steps involved. In a pure compiled program, scenario, you compile it and you run it. In an interpreted language, you just interpret it and that's it. There's this thing where there's these a couple of programming languages that use some kind of just-in-time compiler. I read about it. It's kind of complicated. It's really kind of hard to wrap your head around. But there's essentially 2 steps. There's 2 steps. You know, don't forget, we did the 2 steps here. We ran the source code into the compiler here, and then we passed the program into, we passed the program name into the interpreter. So there's 2 steps going on. We're compiling and we're interpreting. So, you know, can you say it's interpreted? Can you say it's compiled? I don't know. That's up to you to decide. Doesn't seem like it's really compiled and run the same way that I would run a Go program or a Rust program, and it's not interpreted like I would interpret you know, Ruby or JavaScript. So there's 2 steps involved, but essentially, you know, the experts say it's a compiled program, so I'll go with that. So Java is compiled program, whereas JavaScript is interpreted. And Java is a static type program where JavaScript is dynamically typed. So static would be kind of strongly typed, I believe, and dynamic would be more like weakly typed. And Java uses classes and JavaScript uses prototypes. So keep that in mind. They are not the same thing, even though they have the same name. Okay, so that's how to run a Java program from the command line interface on Pop! OS Linux 22.04. Now I'll just leave you with one more thing here before I go, and this is the OpenJDK page here. So you can come here and try to find. I usually install it from. I probably installed it from here before. So you can come here and try. You can try your hand here if you want, or you can. I don't think you can. You can probably find it in a GUI like a Pop Shop. I think I did this one through APT, and it gave me the most current version. You can always Google up different ways of doing it and what's the best way that rings true for you. Okay, so again, that was how to run a Java program from the command line interface on Pop! OS Linux 22.04, and I'll leave you with our Hello Java output here. Hello Java. Okay, thank you for watching. I look forward to your comments and your feedback. Thank you.